Hello everyone. In this video I am going to be teaching you how to multiply binomials. This is a critical skill in college algebra and it also will show up in subsequent math classes, so it's very important to know. Now, what you see here, so if we take x plus 5 and we take x plus 6, when we see these together like this, these are known as binomials. And what a binomial is it is a collection of two terms separated by either a plus sign or a minus sign. So in this case, the x here would be a term, the 5 here would be a term, and then the x would be a term on this side, and then the 6 would also be a term on this side. So those are the words I'll be using to describe them throughout this video. Now, how do we actually go about multiplying them? You may know from the order of operations that you're supposed to do what's in the parentheses first when you are simplifying, but since we can't directly add x and 5 and we can't directly add x and 6, we can't really simplify it by doing that. But there is a method we could use, and this method is understood through the acronym FOIL. So I'm going to write the letters F, O, I, and L on the side of the screen. So FOIL, you can remember that word, and it stands for first, I'll write that, first, outer, inner, and last. So now that I spelt that out for you, I'm going to show you how this works. So what first here means is we will multiply the first terms in our binomials. And in this case, that would be the x here and the x here. So first would be x times x, which would just simplify to x squared. So I'm going to put x squared over here. Now, for our outer terms, those will be x here and the 6 here. So that would be x times 6, which would simplify to 6x. So we write that here, and because it's positive, I'm going to be adding plus 6x over here. Now, we work on our inner terms for the third part. That's going to be the 5 here and the x here. So if we do that, we do 5 times x. That is going to simplify to 5x. And then we add 5x here because that's positive. And finally, we'll be working with what we call the last terms, and that is just the 5 over here and the 6 over here. So if we do that, we multiply 5 and 6. That is going to give us 30. And because it's positive, we'll add it, 30. So now we have a total of 4 terms here. And it's better if we don't leave it like this because we actually have 2 like terms here. We have a 6x and a 5x, and these can be added together. And when we do that, we end up with x squared plus 11x plus 30. I'm going to give you another example here. We could try something like 2t minus 7, right? And then we could do 5t plus 2. So you may not always see x here as the variable, but you'll generally see some kind of letter, and it doesn't have to be x. So in this example, we're going to use t, and we'll use the same process of multiplying these two binomials. We'll still be using the FOIL method. So I'll write it over here, FOIL. Right, and now we can get to multiplying these. So the F stands for first, and the first terms here are going to be the 2t and the 5t. So we're going to go over here and multiply those. 2t times 5t, and that's going to equal 10t squared. Be sure to leave the t squared when you have terms like this, because sometimes you'll just look at 2 and 5 and you'll just think 10, and you might write 10t, but it's actually 10t squared. So be sure to multiply these t's as well as the 2 and the 5. So over here I'm going to write 10t squared. Now we'll work on our outer terms, which are going to be 2t and 2. So I'll write that over here. 2t times 2. That is going to just be 4t. And because that's positive, I'm going to be adding it over here. I'll write 4t. Now we work on our inner terms, which will be -7 and +2. So when you have a minus sign here, you have to think of it as a negative. Something important to remember going forward with multiplying binomials. So I'm going to write -7 times... Actually, I was about to make a mistake. Okay. It's a good thing I caught this. So for the inner terms, it would actually be 5t here. So it's a good thing I caught that, my mistake. I tried working through it too fast because I didn't erase both underlinings. But anyways, so -7 times 5t. That is going to equal -35t. So I'm going to write that minus 35t over here. We won't be adding them like usual because we ended up with a negative. So that's going to be minus 35t. And finally, we can work on our last terms, which would be -7 and +2. So we'll multiply those over here. -7 and +2 equals -14. And because that's negative, we'll subtract that also. Now, like before, we have a 4t here and a -35t. This can be simplified. It's basically 4t minus 35t. So simplifying, we will be left with 10t squared. Positive 4t minus 35t, that's going to be a -31t. So -31t minus 14. And this is our final answer. I hope you learned something from this video. If you would like to see more tutorials regarding mathematics, you can feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I also offer online tutoring. So if that's something that you might want, check the link in the description of this video. You may find something useful. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.